April 16th, 2:45 in the afternoon. My granddaughter Emma is standing outside her school, backpack on, lunchbox in her hand, alone. She has been waiting for 2 hours and 12 minutes, and no one came for her. I was mid-sentence when my phone rang. A boardroom, 11 executives sitting across from me. A presentation I had spent 3 weeks preparing. A client project worth $2 billion. And I was right in the middle of it. My phone rang. I declined it. It rang again. I declined again. The third time, one of the executives leaned forward and said, "Please take it. Could be urgent." I picked up. The woman on the line said they had been trying to reach someone for over 2 hours, that Emma was still there, that nobody had come. I looked at 11 faces waiting for me to finish my presentation. I said, "Family emergency." Grabbed my bag, left that boardroom mid-sentence. The whole drive to that school, one thought kept circling. I had told Raymond. I had specifically told Raymond. But before I tell you what happened when I got home, I need to take you back, 6 weeks earlier, the best night of my life, because this story does not start on April 16th. And before I do, if this story is already pulling you in, hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing, and it means everything to this channel. And drop a comment right now. Tell me which state and time zone you are watching from. I read every single one. Now let's go back. My name is Loretta, Senior Vice President of Operations. I did not get that title because I had a strong reference behind me. I got it because for years I worked extremely hard on myself every single day. I came prepared every morning without exception. I stayed late at the office, not occasionally, consistently, making sure everything was completed 3 days before every deadline. I even solved problems from other departments, not because it was my job, but out of courtesy, because that is just who I am. When my CEO called me into his office, Mr. Adam, Senior VP of HR, and Mr. James, Senior VP of Marketing, were already in the room. My CEO stood up the moment I walked in and announced, "Please welcome our Senior VP of Operations." I cannot explain what happened in my chest in that moment. It just filled. The first person I called was not my mother, not my best friend Sandra. It was Raymond. "Baby, I got it." 3 seconds of silence. "I knew you would. I always knew. I need you to understand who Raymond was to me. The kind of man women describe to their friends, and those friends go quiet with envy. He listens. He remembers. He never once made me feel like my ambition was inconvenient. His business had been struggling, quietly, the slow kind of decline that doesn't crash, it just thins. Fewer clients each month, less energy. He didn't talk about it, and I didn't push. I trusted he'd find his way through. So when he offered to throw a family dinner for my promotion, I didn't think twice. He made every call himself, booked the restaurant, and the card, I still remember every word. It said, "Loretta, you always wished that we would see each other's success together. I think our wishes have finally been heard." I cried before I even finished reading it. When everyone was seated, Raymond stood up, looked at me, and said, "This woman, everything she touches, she builds. I am just grateful she lets me stand next to her." My mother wiped her eyes. My cousins filmed it. The whole room was warm. I believed every single word. There was one person not filming. Sandra, sitting quietly at the far end of the table, watching Raymond with an expression I couldn't name. Sandra had been 7 months into a separation, still raw from it, still finding her footing. Outside afterward, waiting for our cars, she pulled me close and said, almost reluctantly, like she was deciding whether to speak at all. I could be wrong, but tonight, the way Raymond was talking, it felt like a performance, not a feeling. I looked at her, and I will be honest with you. Standing there on the best night of my career, I thought, she is projecting. She just left a painful marriage, and now she sees shadows in mine. I squeezed her hand, smiled, let it go. The next 6 weeks were the best of my life. Work was everything I had worked for. Raymond was warm, steady. I went to sleep every night feeling like I had finally arrived somewhere. Nothing felt wrong. But here is what I understand now. The most dangerous thing in a room is never the loudest one. It is the one that has learned your routine, your schedule, the exact time you fall asleep. Raymond knew I was out by 10 p.m. He had known it for years, and I know now he was already using that. I just couldn't see it yet. I picked Emma up at 2:58. She didn't cry, just looked up at me and said, I knew you'd come, Nana. I held her in that parking lot longer than I should have. Then I drove home, walked through my door, asked Raymond one question. His answer was 4 words: calm, simple, ordinary. I almost believed him. Almost. When I walked through that front door, Emma was already on the couch. Shoes off, cartoons on, like nothing had happened. But I had spent the last 40 minutes in that car replaying the same moment over and over. The school calling, the 2 hours, the parking lot, her little face when she saw me running toward her. I knew you'd come, Nana. I set my bag down. I walked into the kitchen where Raymond was standing, phone in hand, completely relaxed, and I looked at him. Raymond, Emma's pickup is at 12:45. I told you yesterday. I wrote it on the board in the kitchen. What happened? He looked up at me, and then he said it. 4 words. Sorry, baby, I forgot. No panic, no guilt on his face. No, I have been sick with worry all afternoon. I tried calling the school. I don't know how this happened. Just, sorry, baby, I forgot. I stood there for a moment, looked at him, looked at the kitchen board where I had written Emma, 12:45 pickup in blue marker. He had walked past that board every single day. I told Emma to go change her clothes and get out of her uniform. Raymond apologized again. I looked at him and said, okay, because that is what it was. Okay, people forget. He had a lot going on with the business. I was not going to make a whole situation out of it. I put it down and moved on. 2 days later, my CEO called me. Loretta, you haven't replied to my email from yesterday. Is everything okay? I opened my inbox immediately. Scrolled again. Nothing. No email from him. Not in my inbox, not in junk, not anywhere. I am so sorry. I did not receive anything. Must be a technical issue on my end. He said, I am sending you the screenshot right now. I checked my phone. There it was, his email, sent the previous afternoon, my name in the recipient line, clear as anything. I stared at that screenshot for a long time. I genuinely cannot explain this. Would you be able to resend it tonight? He said, I am out with family right now. I will resend tonight at 11:15. I made a mental note, 11:15. Check email before bed. What I did not notice, what I had absolutely no reason to notice, was Raymond, sitting at the other end of the room, head down, looking at his own phone, but listening. He had heard every word of that conversation, and somewhere in that exchange, when my CEO said 11:15, something registered behind Raymond's eyes, because Raymond knew something my CEO did not know. He knew I am asleep by 10 p.m., every night without exception. It is not something I decide. My body simply shuts down. Raymond had watched it happen beside him for years. I would be mid-conversation sometimes, and then just gone, out. 11:15 was not just a time to Raymond. 11:15 was after I was already asleep. That email, whatever was in it, would sit unopened until morning. I did not think about any of this that night. I made a mental note to check my email before bed, and then forgot completely because by 9:45 I was already drifting. By 10, I was gone. At 11:15, while I was fast asleep, my CEO sent that email. I did not see it until the following morning, and by then, the damage was already done. Now I want to ask you something. At this point in the story, does any of this feel intentional to you? Or does it still feel like bad luck, a forgotten pickup, a missing email, a late resend? Because that is exactly what it felt like to me, just bad luck. But here's what I know now about certain kinds of bad luck. Sometimes it is not luck at all. Sometimes someone who knows you, really knows you, is standing close enough to pull the strings. And you cannot see it because you trust them, because you love them, because the idea of it is too painful to even form into a thought. I was not ready to form that thought yet, but I was getting closer. I reached the office at 10 a.m. sharp. The boardroom was already full. Executives seated, my CEO at the head of the table. I walked in, set my notes down, and picked up exactly where I had left off 2 days ago. I presented carefully, confidently, the way I always do. But my CEO's expression was different that morning. Not angry exactly, cold. The kind of cold that sits behind the eyes of someone who expected something from you and did not get it. He said nothing during the presentation, did not interrupt, did not add, just watched. When the executives finally left the room, he closed the door. He turned to me and said, "Loretta, those points we discussed in the email, they were not in your presentation today." I felt my stomach drop. I want to be direct with you. That project is worth $2 billion. Every detail matters. I sent you that email specifically so we would walk into that room prepared. And today, we were not. His voice was measured, but the weight behind it was heavy. I felt every word land. I said, "I am so sorry. I genuinely never received that email. Let me show you right now." I opened my inbox, scrolled through everything. Nothing. He frowned. "I also sent you a WhatsApp. Did you not see that either?" I opened WhatsApp, scrolled to his name. Nothing. No message, no missed call, nothing. I turned my phone toward him. He leaned in and looked. Then he pulled out his own phone and showed me his screen, the message marked delivered. The call log showing my number, delivered, but I had nothing. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he straightened up, picked up his folder and said, "Sort this out, Loretta. This cannot happen again." And he walked out. I stood in that empty boardroom for a few minutes, alone, replaying everything, the empty inbox, the empty WhatsApp, the look on his face. I called Raymond. It rang and rang, no answer. I needed to talk to someone. Raymond was not just my husband. He was my person, the one I called when work got heavy, when I needed to sit somewhere quiet and just decompress. There was a small cafe 2 streets from our house, our place, We had spent hours there over the years. I wanted to go there with him. Just sit, just breathe. But he did not pick up, so I called Sandra. I am coming to you. She opened the door before I even knocked. We hugged in the doorway without saying a word. She made coffee, and we sat across from each other at her kitchen table, and I told her everything. The CEO's email I never received, his WhatsApp I never got, the presentation, the cold expression, the way he spoke to me after. I told her all of it. Sandra listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Wait, your WhatsApp was not working?" "That is the only explanation. Something is wrong with my phone." She shook her head slowly. "Loretta, I sent you a reel at midnight 2 days ago. You reacted to it, and yesterday morning you called me on WhatsApp and I picked up. I called you back and you picked up." I opened my mouth, but she was already reaching for her phone. "Let me call you right now." She did. My phone rang immediately. Clear. Perfect signal. "It is working fine." She looked at me. Then she looked at my phone sitting on the table between us. "Give me your phone." I handed it to her without thinking. She opened the settings, started going through them slowly. I watched her face. She was not saying anything, just scrolling, quietly, carefully. And then she stopped. She found something. Sandra was still holding my phone. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Loretta, have you locked any chats on your WhatsApp?" I looked at her. "What do you mean locked?" "On WhatsApp, there is a feature. If you want to hide a chat, you can lock it. It does not show in your regular inbox. It sits separately. Have you ever done that?" I shook my head. "Sandra, I did not even know that feature existed." She kept scrolling, and then she stopped. She turned the phone toward me. There was a section I had never seen before. Locked chats. "It is asking for a code to open them, but there is another way in." She paused. "Bring your face close to the phone." I leaned in. The phone scanned my face. It opened, and there it was, my CEO's name, sitting in a locked chat I never created and never knew existed. I opened it. 6 messages from him. "Have you received the email? Loretta." 3 question marks. Then 4 missed calls, none of which had ever appeared in my call log. Raymond had deleted those too. My hands were not steady anymore. Sandra spoke quietly. "Loretta, if you did not lock that chat, who did? Could my account be hacked?" Sandra looked at me calmly. "If your account was hacked, why would a hacker only lock your CEO's chat? Why not send scam messages to your contacts? Why just hide one person's messages?" She was right. I knew it the moment she said it. So it was not a hack, which meant someone who had access to my phone, someone who knew my password, had deliberately hidden my CEO's messages where I would never look. Someone who knew I did not know that feature existed. Sandra said, "Who knows your phone password at home?" "Only Raymond." The room went very quiet. "And where was Raymond when you were on the phone with your CEO that night, when he said 11:15? I closed my eyes. He was in the next room, head down, on his phone, listening. Sandra nodded. "He heard the time. He knew you would be asleep. He locked the chat and deleted the calls so that when morning came, you would have nothing. And you would walk into that boardroom completely unprepared." I heard every word. I understood every word. But some part of me was still looking for another explanation, because the alternative was something I was not ready to hold. Then Sandra's expression changed, the kind of change that happens when someone has been keeping something to themselves for too long. Loretta, there is something else. She took a breath. I have seen Raymond at the Hotspot Cafe multiple times with Diana. Everything in me stopped. Diana, my colleague, the other name shortlisted for Senior VP of Operations before the CEO chose me, the woman who had never forgiven me for that, who spread rumors about me in the office, who tried to pull me down at every opportunity. That Diana. Sandra, when? The first time was the day after your promotion dinner. Raymond and Diana were college mates. I had always known that, but they were never close. Not close enough for private meetings at cafes. Not close enough for this. Sandra took my hand. Do you remember what I told you that night after the dinner? That something felt like a performance. I remembered. The room tilted. Sandra brought me water. I drank slowly. Then she said, the moment you see Raymond on his phone at home, message me. I will call him. I will say there is a signal issue and ask him to hand the phone to you. When he does, open his WhatsApp, check his chats with Diana. I nodded. I was running on half a mind, but I heard her. I drove home. Raymond was on the couch when I walked in, phone in hand. I went to the kitchen and messaged Sandra. She called within seconds. I heard Raymond answer, heard him say, she is right here. He walked over and held the phone out to me. I took it, kept my face completely still, and I opened his WhatsApp. There are moments in life that split everything into before and after. This was mine. Diana's name. Third contact down. I pressed it. The chat opened. It was long. Months of messages scrolling back further than I had the stomach to read. But I did not need to read all of it, because right there, near the top, I saw it. Files, attachments, screenshots. I opened one. It was my CEO's email, the one Raymond had deleted from my inbox while I was asleep. Every word of it. The instructions, the key points for the $2 billion presentation, forwarded directly to Diana. My hands were shaking, but I kept scrolling. And then I found it, a message from Raymond to Diana. I have sent you each and everything. The rest is up to you now. The work should be done. I want to see her down. I want to teach her a lesson. I read it 3 times. I want to see her down. Her. Me, his wife. The woman who cried in her car for 9 minutes the day she got the promotion she had worked 11 years for. The woman who called him first. Always him first. I sat on that couch completely still, not crying, not shaking anymore, just still. The way you go still when something lands so hard that your body does not know what to do with it yet? Only one question in my mind. Why? What did I do? When did my success become something he needed to punish? When did he sit across from Diana, his college mate, my enemy at work, and decide that together they would take me apart? I could not read anymore. But before I did anything else, I called Sandra. Sandra, how do I record this? She did not ask questions, she just said, screen record, hold the side button and volume up together, record everything, especially that message, especially the attachments. I did exactly that. Every screenshot Diana had asked for, every file Raymond had forwarded, and that message. I want to see her down. I recorded it all, sent everything directly to Sandra as backup. Then I ended the call. I stood up, stopped every tear that was trying to come. I walked into that room holding his phone. Raymond looked up from the bed, casual, unbothered, the same face he had worn every single day while all of this was happening behind my back. Why, Raymond? He blinked. Why? Loretta, what? Why? What are you talking about? My voice was not loud, it was the other kind. The kind that only comes when you are holding back everything and only one word manages to get through the wall. Diana. Something moved behind his eyes. Just a flicker. 1 second. Then he pulled it back and rearranged his face into confusion. Diana? Who? I opened his WhatsApp, and I threw the phone onto the bed in front of him. The chat was right there, open, visible. He looked down at the screen. And Raymond, the man who always had an answer, who always had 4 calm words ready, who had stood up at a dinner table and given a speech that made my mother cry, went completely blank. Like a person whose whole script had just been pulled from under them. I stood there and I said, "Just tell me what lesson you were trying to teach me. You sat with the woman I hate the most in that office, the woman who spread rumors about my character, who tried to pull me down every single day, who could not accept that the CEO chose me over her. You sat with her, Raymond, in a cafe, multiple times, and you planned this together against me, your wife." My voice cracked on that word, wife, but I did not stop. You deleted my CEO's email from my inbox while I was sleeping. You locked his WhatsApp chat so I could not see his messages or his calls. You made sure I walked into that boardroom empty-handed. You made sure I stood in front of 11 executives and a $2 billion client completely unprepared. You did that. You. He said nothing. And you handed Diana everything, every instruction, every point my CEO had sent me. You forwarded it all to her so she could walk in prepared while I walked in blind. Silence. Is this jealousy, Raymond? Your business is declining. I am getting promoted. I am earning more. Is that what this is? His face went completely red, slowly, like something burning from the inside. He shook his head, just once. And I had my answer. I took a long breath. Raymond, if that was the issue, you could have just told me. We could have talked. I would have left my job. I would have walked away from that career and come to your business, and we would have built it together. I would have done that for you without thinking twice, because that is what I believed we were, together. I paused. But instead, you chose Diana. He still had nothing, not one word. And I want you to know, I figured out April 16th as well. You did not forget to pick Emma from school. You knew exactly what time I had that presentation. You knew the school had my number. You knew better than anyone that I never put my phone on silent. So you sat at home and you let that school call me. You let it ring in that boardroom in front of 11 executives. You let your own granddaughter stand alone in a parking lot for 2 hours and 12 minutes. That was not forgetting Raymond. That was a decision. The room was completely silent. Raymond sat on the edge of that bed with nothing. No words, no expression, just a man who had been completely exposed and had nothing left to cover himself with. I looked at him for the last time. Then I walked to Emma's room and knocked softly. Emma, pack your school bag and your favorite things. We are going somewhere. She looked up with wide, curious eyes. Where, Nana? A new home. Her whole face lit up. She jumped off the bed immediately and started grabbing things. Kids do not carry what they do not know, and I made a decision in that moment that she never would, not from me. Children do not belong inside adult pain. I did not look at Raymond again on my way out. I just left. That same night, I sat in Sandra's car outside my building and sent everything to my CEO. The screen recording. A full voice note walking him through every detail. The locked chat. The deleted emails. The forwarded files. Raymond's message to Diana, I want to see her down. I want to teach her a lesson. He listened to all of it. By the next morning, Diana was called in. Code of conduct case. Breach of confidentiality. Sharing classified project information with an external party. The kind of case that does not quietly disappear. She did not come back to the office after that day. Raymond had likely warned her. It did not matter. The recording had already done what it needed to do. It took me weeks to feel like myself again. You do not consume what I consumed in one afternoon and simply move forward. You process it slowly, in pieces. Some nights I would sit in the kitchen of our new apartment after Emma was asleep and just sit in the quiet and let myself feel it. The betrayal, the confusion, the grief of losing someone you thought you knew completely. But I also felt something else slowly growing in that quiet. Clarity. Then Raymond came. Weeks later, a bank loan repayment had arrived and he had no way to cover it. He called first. I did not pick up. He called again. I did not pick up. Then one evening he came to the apartment. Emma opened the door before I could get there. She does not know. She smiled at him the way children smile at people they love, simply and completely. I let her. She deserves to love who she loves. That is not for me to take from her. Raymond stood in my doorway. The confidence was gone. The ease was gone. He looked like a man who had been living with what he had done, and it had been sitting heavy on him. He said, "Loretta, please, we can sort this out. I don't know what happened to me. I had this jealousy inside me, and instead of facing it, I kept watering it. Every single day. I let it grow into something I cannot even explain to myself. Please, come back. Come to the business. We grow together. New start." I listened to every word. I let him finish completely. Then I looked at him and I said, "Raymond, I also want to teach you a lesson, period." He waited for more. There was no more. He left, and I closed my door. This story is not about a promotion. It is not about WhatsApp chats or emails or a $2 billion project. It is about what happens when jealousy is given a quiet place to grow inside a person who refuses to face it. How it disguises itself. How it sits at a dinner table and raises a glass and gives a speech and writes something on a card that makes you cry. How it learns your schedule. How it waits until you are asleep. And it is about what a woman does when she finally sees all of it clearly. She does not scream. She does not beg. She does not fall apart. She records the evidence. She closes the case. She packs a bag. She takes her granddaughter by the hand, and she closes the door. If you relate with the story, hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second and it means everything to this channel. Share this with someone in your life who needs to hear this story today. And if you are new here, subscribe. Every single story on this channel is written for women who deserve to see themselves clearly. Now drop a comment below. I want to know, did Raymond deserve a second chance? Or did Loretta do exactly the right thing? I will see you in the next one.